The global impact of COVID-19 pandemic and ongoing conflicts, including in Ukraine, has impacted lives of ordinary people adversely, particularly in the developing countries with spiraling energy and commodity prices and disruptions in global logistical supply chains. The 2022 Global Report on Food Crisis has reported that 139 million people across the world suffered from conflict-induced acute food insecurity, up by around 30% reported previously. The situation is therefore severe and cannot be neglected. We all need to work collectively together to alleviate the sufferings of the most affected. The food security challenges emanating inter alia from Ukraine conflict require us to respond creatively. To begin with, it's obvious that an early diplomatic solution to the conflict in Ukraine is of paramount importance. India has been consistent in calling for a diplomatic solution through constructive dialogue between the two sides. Prime Minister of India has himself stressed on this aspect in his discussions with the respective leadership. Further, we have noted Secretary General's initiative of establishing a global crisis response group on food, energy and finance. We appreciate Secretary General's call for exempting purchases of food by WFP for humanitarian assistance from food export restrictions with immediate effect. Madam Chair, a number of low-income societies are today confronted with the twin challenges of rising costs and difficulty in access to food grains. Even those like India, who have adequate stocks, have seen an unjustified increase in food prices. It's clear that hoarding and speculation is at work. We cannot allow this to pass unchallenged. My government has recognized the sudden spike in global prices of wheat, which put our food security and those of our neighbors and other vulnerable countries at risk. We are committed to ensuring that such adverse impact on food security is effectively mitigated and the vulnerable cushioned against sudden changes in the global market. In order to manage our own overall food security and support the needs of neighboring and other vulnerable developing countries, we have announced some measures regarding wheat exports on 13th May 2022. Let me make it clear that these measures allow for export on the basis of approvals to those countries who are required to meet their food security demands. This will be done on the request from the concerned governments. Such a policy will ensure that we will truly respond to those who are most in need. It's necessary for all of us to adequately appreciate the importance of equity, affordability, and accessibility when it comes to food grains. We have already seen to our great cost how these principles were disregarded in the case of COVID-19 vaccines. Open markets must not become an argument to perpetuate inequity and promote discrimination. As for our own track record of helping our partners in distress, even in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic and ongoing conflicts, India has never found wanting. We have provided food aid in the form of thousands of metric tons of wheat, rice, pulses and lentils to several countries, including our neighborhood and Africa, to strengthen their food security. In view of the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Afghanistan, India is donating 50,000 metric tons of wheat to the people of Afghanistan. India has continued its humanitarian support for Myanmar, including a grant of 10,000 tons of rice and wheat. We are also assisting Sri Lanka, including with food assistance during these difficult times. In keeping with our ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family, and our neighborhood first policy, we will continue to assist our neighbors in their hour of need and stand by them always. Let me also underline that all humanitarian aid and assistance must be primarily guided by the universal principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. These measures must not be politicized. there is an urgent need for the donor community to scale up assistance to conflict-affected countries and to ensure that humanitarian agencies receive the necessary funding to fully execute their plans without politicization of basic needs of the people. India remains strongly committed to the cause of global food security and also has contributed to UN Central Emergency Response Fund and the UN OCHA in response to various humanitarian crises over the years. Our spearheading of the UN General Assembly resolution for declaring year 2023 as the International Year of Millets was aimed at addressing similar such food security challenges. In conclusion, Madam Chair, let me emphasize that India will play its due role in advancing global food security, and it will do so in a manner in which it will uphold equity, display compassion, and promote social justice. Thank you, Madam Chair.